with regards to Mr. Moon's new southern policy and how that pertains to ROK-ASEAN ties as well as ASEAN with other partners?
Well, I had a bilateral visit with President Moon in Seoul before the ASEAN meeting. We have good cooperation with Korea. We cooperate on cybersecurity, for example. We have an FTA with them, which we are in the process of studying whether we can get it upgraded. We also have an ASA with them, which has been upgraded, improved. I think that's a very significant step forward because we've been encouraging the Koreans for a long time to do this. And now they have finally done it. And I think it's a good step for both countries because it will mean more tourism, more business. And also enhance the status of Changi and Incheon as hub airports in our respective regions. So there's some useful outcome from the bilateral visit. On the ASEAN side, this is a commemorative summit. We hold it every 5 years, usually. We held the previous one in 2014 here also in Busan. This time there's something different because President Moon has a new southern policy, and it is partly because of the uncertainties in the world, partly because he feels the need to diversify Korea's partnership with the region beyond focusing on North Korea, beyond China, which has been also their biggest trading partner, to look at Southeast Asia. And I think that's good for ASEAN. Some of the summit is commemorative, is ceremonial, but we hope that as a result of the new southern policy, we'll be able to get more substantive ideas going. For example, even between ASEAN and Korea, they're also talking about an FTA. And that hasn't been settled yet, but I hope they'll make progress.
What will be on ASEAN's agenda next year, and also what Singapore hope to achieve through ASEAN?
ASEAN is a long-term endeavor. We don't drastically change programs year to year. Every year the chairman has a slightly different theme. The themes which we chose when we were chairman last year was resilience and innovation, and one of the projects was the Smart Cities network in ASEAN, which I think the ties have kept up and the Vietnamese intend to pick up next year. If you look at the state of the world, it's troubled and uncertain. For ASEAN, what that means is that you have to try and do your best to keep on making progress on things which are within your own control. And one of the things which is within your own control is to work at economic cooperation and deepen and reduce the barriers and promote the interdependence and trade as well as investments. And this is something which we work on progressively. We don't have a dramatic new big thing to announce for next year, but I think economic cooperation continues to be a major part of the agenda.
With Singapore's economy growing 0.5% in the third quarter of this year, what in your view are the prospects for its economy in the year ahead, and how will this be affected by the status of the US-China trade talks?
Our economy depends very much on the world economy. The world economy is slowed down. The US economy is slowed down, so is Europeans and the Japanese and the Chinese. So it's not surprising that we've slowed down also. Whether we tip into a recession or not, that depends a lot on external factors. We don't know whether the American economy will tip into a recession. It may. The risks seem to have gone up, but right now the indicators are mixed. I mean, the unemployment is still low, the employment is still quite good, and they are still growing, so it hasn't actually gone into a recession yet. But the risk factors are there. The corporate profits are not as buoyant as before. The leverage is going up. The corporate borrowing is going up. And depending on how, what external shocks may happen, for example, if you have a problem worsen between America and China, or you don't have a solution and the current uncertainties continue, they could go into a recession within the next 12, 18 months. And then if that happens, well, we are at greater risk. So we are watching this. I think In this situation, the solution is not a pump priming stimulus, but to take advantage of the slowness of the economy to redouble our efforts at upgrading, at training, at productivity improvements, so that we make the most of what we are able to do given this environment. The markets may not be there yet because when you have the big cloud hanging over you, nobody wants to make commitments. They want to see what will happen on Brexit. They want to see what will happen on US-China. They want to see whether there are any more uncertainties. Even in this part of the world, between Japan and Korea, there are troubles. So we have to understand that those clouds also affect our weather and our climate, and we're preparing for that. And one of the major things we do is next year's budget, and I think Heng Swee Keat as finance minister, and in fact not just him, but all the other agencies as well are working towards preparing a budget which will be strong and suitable to the state of the world and what the Singapore economy needs.
With shifting geopolitical alliances, smaller countries may be forced to take sides. So how can the government, including 4G leaders, deal with these?
There is no magic answer to this. As I said when I spoke to the party convention, the key thing is you must be united domestically. You must speak up for Singapore. You must represent Singapore's interests. Everybody must know that you are expressing Singapore's position and not speaking on behalf of anybody else. And we try our best to be on good terms with everybody. It is not so easy because each side will push you to support their point of view a bit more. But if you stand on principle and you have good reasons which you are able to articulate and to defend where you stand, well, it won't always be sweetness and light, but at least we respect each other even when we have to agree to disagree. And I think that's how Singaporeans must look at the world. We are not the only small country with bigger neighbors. I mean, if I visit Mexico, they are a small country with bigger neighbors too. They may be 130 million people, but compared to the United States, they are much smaller. So if you come to Korea, they are not a small country, but Japan is bigger than them, China is bigger than them. So we have bigger neighbors in our region, we have even bigger neighbors in the Asia Pacific, and we have to get along with them and they have to find us useful to them. And so far we are not doing badly.